Schneider Electric opened a new chapter in manufacturing with the launch of a smart factory in Bangalore. Opened with much fanfare, this factory promises a green approach to manufacturing which will maximize efficiency and promote growth through innovation, where physical machines are fitted with smart sensors connected to a cloud network which uses data from connected operations and production systems to create spontaneous situations and make real-time decisions. With disruption, digitization and automation on the minds of every major player in manufacturing, let's take a closer look at what makes Schneider Electric's smart factory solution stand out.
Well, to simply kick off the conversation, and I'd love to start with you. How do technology-enabled factories, smart factories, essentially leave behind existing traditional models of automation that are already in place?
Yeah, I think it's really something important at Schneider Electric because we run 200 factories around the world. We have 100 distribution centers, and let's be clear, all of them are not like have been built last week. So we have plenty of brownfield facilities, and the idea of the transformation that we went through, that I was commenting about earlier, smart factory, smart DC, how they are integrated in the tailored, sustainable, and connected 4.0 journey. We do believe at Schneider that we can, I would say, deploy the technology in a way that we can start small and deploy fast and scale up. So in the way that we are able to implement the technology that Schneider sells to customers, and we do believe that it's the normal approach to use that technology and implement it in our facilities, connecting, I would say, the assets, connecting the different aspects of the process, and bringing the visibility and bringing the information at the edge control, enabling people operating the workshop, operating the process, the lines, the factory, to have that visibility with the objective of being safer, with the objective of being faster, with the objective of delivering a better quality for our customers.
Sure. And Chandrasekhar, I'd love to bring you into the conversation at this point. Building on what Murad has just shared, how time intensive, how capital intensive is it to transform your existing infrastructure into a factory of the future, into something that is end-to-end technology enabled? And at what point in the growth story of a company does it make sense to take that step and to pull that trigger?
That's a great question, Pooja. One of the fears that a lot of people, a lot of customers have is, how do I invest in making my factory smarter? The answer to that is, depending on the outcomes that one would map out, an ROI could be as less as a few weeks. It sounds shocking, but it could be a few weeks. Now, I also come from a perspective of being India's largest manufacturer of CNC machines. And in a CNC machine, there are more than 2,000 to 3,000 parts that go into a machine. And a lot of our customers also belong to the SME segment. For them, every paisa or cent that they invest has to have a tangible outcome. And what we believe is a sort of a hub and spoke model where instead of a big bang, front-loaded approach, we believe that if we take the pains of every department in those companies and we enable them to solve that particular pain and get a certain outcome, then they become the owners of transformation, digitization, and eventually moving towards Industry 4.0.
Well, Shalini, building on the transformation that Chandrasekhar has touched upon, how much of this transformation, is about processes, how much of it is about product, and how much of it is about people?
So I represent a software company. I mean, we are an enterprise software provider. For any digital transformation in the smart factories, it's about all the three things. And a lot of people say, digital transformation is about technologies. Actually, it's more about people, because people have to accept the changes. The factories that have been running on, say, old systems, old applications have to modernize. They have to move to a new, maybe they are running on the premise in a data center, they have to move to the cloud. Maybe they have to connect a remote factory to their central factory. So it's about both systems, process, and people. And it's about training people into these new systems.
Well, that to my mind involves a huge reskilling effort, perhaps even unlearning some of the behaviors and processes that, members on the shop floor, on the factory floor have built their entire career around. So how does one handle that transition internally?
Yeah, actually, the way it has been now, industry has been changed, what we've seen from past 2-3 decades. Everything has to be now digitalized, and people want to remotely access, make everything like IoT-based technology. Here in this, especially shop floor area, it is improvised many things. Like earlier, we used to make preventive maintenance schedules, and we should know when we need to do maintenance of the equipment. Now everything is such a way driven in the software, and it will give all kind of information to the shop floor manager that particular equipment is due for the renewal of AMC or whatever need to be how undergo preventive maintenance. Now everything has been such a way, and the MD of the company also can directly see how the production is happening in the shop floor. It is well connected, it has to be process oriented.
Sure. Sandeep, while we talk about these well-connected environments, right? We talk about leveraging analytics, so to speak, leveraging IoT frameworks, digitization. Doesn't that on the flip side, also become a challenge because so many pools of data exist in silos? They exist in isolation. So isn't there a complete technology overhaul that's required as a foundation before we can even think about factories of the future?
Sure. I think I would take 2 or 3 components to answer your question.
Please.
One is it essentially has to be a purpose-driven initiative. We do not do machine learning or we do not do factory automation because it is trendy. It has to be, as I said, purpose-driven, objective-driven. It depends upon what segment of business are you in. And even if, let's say, 2 players are in the same segment of business, still their objectives could be different depending upon their business model, their philosophy, their customer segment. So one shirt doesn't fit all, like Murad said.
Absolutely.
It's very important. So you must not do it because it is in trend. Also, as you said very rightly, it doesn't have to be big bang as always. You could do it in components. There could be small pain points which do not require you to drive an entire strategy of process re-engineering or entire re-engineering. So I think low hangings are still important. We should definitely avoid a myopia that every brick and mortar is essentially bad and needs to be demolished. There is still brick and mortar which will work. There is semi-automation which will work. So ROI, as you rightly said, the pace of change is so fast. And if you get too much driven by what is in the space around you and try to do everything that is there in the environment, then your ROI becomes a mirage. By the time you hit the first ROI that you projected, there is a need for reinvestment and your ROI keeps shifting. And day will come when your CFO will not allow you to do any further automation if you keep on getting into that trap. So I think this balance is very important.
Sure. And Murad, when we talk about value-driven addition or purpose-driven outcome, let's outline what some of those purposes might be. And I'd love to hear from the entire panel here, given that they represent such a rich range of industries and perspectives. Are we looking for end-to-end visibility into supply chain activity? Are we looking to maximize ROI? Are we looking to, for example, reduce the carbon footprint? Are we looking to have the ability to be flexible enough to customize such that we can offer a real-time response to changing market demands? How do we prioritize this list? And if you could just walk through what's on your wish list in particular.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that we want all of that. I mean, we believe as own customer, we want, I would say cheap, we want fast, we want good quality. And that's the world of today. You have so much offer, easy to access on internet. And at the end of the day, this is how we also have to run our own business. I mean, as head of the supply chain, We want safe, we want quality, we want fast and speed, and we want also efficient. So the way we are deploying, I would say, the digitization at Schneider Electric is really by domain of expertise. You know, when we talk about energy management and sustainability, first step is to measure. I mean, you're not able to improve something that you're not measuring. And frankly speaking, I have tens of examples where our teams, by spending a few €100, in putting in place meters, collecting the information and starting to have visibility. Oh, okay, we spend that amount of money in HVAC. We spend that amount of money during the weekend when the factory is supposed to be ideal. And then you start to analyze those data and you start to build, knowledge and driving applications. We have, molding capabilities where implementing speed drives. We started measuring, we started analyzing, and then define actions where implementing a speed drive on every molding machine enabled us further improvement. So it's really you enter into that cycle of continuous and permanent, improvement drive. The second point I would mention, and I think you pointed out about people, and you're absolutely right. The way we saw the implementation of technology is not too much about the technology itself. It exists. We have great, people doing the design of those offers. Javed earlier was explaining EcoStruxure plant, EcoStruxure machine, EcoStruxure grid. All these offers are there. And the challenge for us is really to make it accessible, make it, remove the complexity and make it easy for people at the shop floor level to be capable of using it, to provide, I would say, the quality of information, the speed of, guidance, so that they can drive, I would say, the decision at the right level.
Sure. I'd like for each of the panelists to, from their own professional capacities, to cite one, smart manufacturing technology or smart technology that has served as a success story within the context of their own organization. Shalini, if I could please start with you.
So I'll talk about, so we have an emerging business. We are an enterprise software company well known for compute virtualization.
Sure.
20 years ago. One of the emerging markets that we are looking at is called IoT. So, and IoT can be in different use cases. Smart factory is one of them. And the way we want to play is really in an infrastructure management plane. So you could have heterogeneous systems, so you could have heterogeneous devices, connected things, and then you could have multiple applications. So how do you, as an organization, connect to all of them from the north and from the south and still manage it in a uniform fashion? That's where we see our play, and that's where we see this can apply to a factory, it can apply to a building. Like in Bangalore, we are deploying water meters in every floor for every wing because Bangalore is a water-constrained site. We're using the same technology. So you can apply in a building, you can apply in a railways, you can apply in a factory. But where we want to come in is where businesses are trying to manage devices and applications from multiple environments. And how do you do it in an agnostic way?
Sure. And just a follow-up question there.
Yes.
As you were rolling out, and deploying these smart technologies, to what extent did they exist in a beta phase or a trial phase before you sort of essentially went for the mass rollout?
I think every customer wants to do a field trial first before they do a big production deployment. I mean, that's really the way it goes because they need to test it. They need to demonstrate the use case.
And how many months, if you had to approximate?
It has to be short, otherwise they'll lose interest. So I would say 3 months, 3 to 6 months.
Your experience, sir?
Yeah, rightly pointed out, like, see, everything has, whatever I just want to implement, we can't just straight away go implement. We should educate and give awareness sessions with all the shop floor, the whole executives are there. We should enrich the knowledge and especially on the whatever IoT-based technology which is coming in the market. We should percolate to the down level also so that they should understand why we are going to that. We have to improvise the production and we should inform them it's not losing any jobs for them. Like, see, always people have in mind that getting in technology, they'll think they'll lose the jobs. No, that is not the criteria here. we have to enrich their knowledge, and we have to bring out the next level of the knowledge, and they should put into the production, that it be in factory side, where they can improve the production.
Love your perspective, sir.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, during the visit of today, you will probably see more of it, is we really wanted to bring, I would say, the information at the lower level, at the level of the workshop and at the level of the operator. We speak a lot about augmented operator.
Absolutely.
And that's really where, you're bringing the value of digital. You're bringing that, speed of getting the right information at the right level, and really trying to, kind of keep the complexity of the technology away from, blocking, I would say, the deployment. The way we have been deploying at Schneider Electric was really working with what we call the mode 1 and mode 2. Mode 1 being really the operations and the execution, mode 2 being really the innovation, center of digital innovation, the teams at the central level that are packaging and defining some of the, I would say, elementary bricks that we wanted to deploy. And then every factory inside our company has been able to kind of customize the way they have been deploying those solutions. Very fast, very easy to implement those kind of packages that requires just small configurations. And this is really the way we see the scalability of the solutions through EcoStruxure.
How about you, Sandeep?
There are two fronts on which we have kind of automation. First of all, we are not a manufacturing plant. We are a data center cloud
Sure.
services company. So to be honest, we enable that for our customers rather than we doing it ourselves. That's one part. So on business, there are several automation initiatives that we have taken, which are greatly improving life, making life easy for our customers. For obvious reasons of secrecy and information protection, I can't talk about many of them, but we have extended controls over mobile phones to our customer, control with their login where they can downscale, upscale, they can modify the kind of services that they want to use from our data center, sitting at their remote location. We have greatly improved visibility and accuracy of billing. There used to be a lot of pain points about billing. Billing used to be late. There could be some reconciliation problems. So all has been wrinkled out using automation tools. This is all improving life of customers and therefore improving their level of satisfaction with us, which is the end point of everything. When it comes to procurement side, I would say I look at value pyramid, and whatever you can convert from discretion basis to no-brainer by using parameters, defined parameters. What I mean is, today essentially something is decided by a human being because it is not standardized, not parameter driven. When you're able to convert that, you push that activity lower in the pyramid, and the lower pyramid can be shifted to automation. So very soon I will have bots doing the repeat kind of purchase orders. It will even go to an extent where I can have 100% bot driven purchase order, 90% bot driven purchase order. So let's say there is a decision box at step 9 of 10 of a purchase order. Bot will run it in no time to 9. It will trigger you that now I need your decision. You give it, and then it shoots a purchase order. So that kind of thing we are very close to implement now.
Sure. Some very groundbreaking examples there. Chandrasekhar, I'd love to hear from you.
I'd like to give some context to the question. So first of all, a lot of our customers from the automotive industry or the aerospace industry or the medical industry, not all of them tend to be big corporates. 65% or say 1/3, 2/3 are SMEs. And one of the impact creation at SMEs is how do you help them make more money? And I'd like to share that we were initially the first mover in India for Industry 4 solutions.
Sure.
And a lot of our customers have literally doubled the machine hour rate, so to speak. That is, how much money do they make per hour on every machine? They've almost doubled that. Now, from a context of what makes it happen, we look at how do you improve both what happens inside a cycle of production and between cycles of production. The needs of, say, a manufacturer that manufactures one rocket part is very different than a automotive parts manufacturer who manufactures millions in a day. Or take companies like us. let's say we manufacture every part at 100% quality, 100% efficiency, but to assemble a machine, it's 3,000 parts. So supply, tooling, kitting, having the right part at the right time makes a huge difference. Now, this is where a comprehensive, outcome-driven approach to digitization as well as Industry 4 can create significant impact.
One of the leading challenges I imagine across industries is getting internal buy-in to sort of pull the trigger and execute the rollout of a smart factory setup within your organization. And so what I'd like to understand is that if someone has understood the business case behind it, right? How do they go about implementing it internally? Who belongs in that conversation? Who are the relevant decision makers? What's the time horizon and cost we're looking at? While we can talk about it, say someone has understood the premise, what do they do next?
Yeah, I mean, as every big, I would say, transformation or revolution in an organization, it needs absolutely to be led and supported by the management and the leadership. So it's really a critical step that leadership understands what the vision that we will be reaching. The second is, I mean, the way we have been deploying it at Schneider, we also didn't put I would say, the focus on saying, like, if you would rewind automation in the 80s or 90s, where it was all about removing headcount, removing people, etc. It's absolutely not the objective of the way we see the digital revolution that is happening today. We see it again more as a operator augmented, human augmented, the speed, the ability to have the right information at the right time in the right place. And I would say I was myself surprised, and I would guess that today during the visit of the Schneider Bangalore factory, you would see how people have absolutely embarked to a point that it has been amazing, the fact that people in their own life are using digital in everything they do, in the banking, etc. The fact that we were somehow not using the same approach inside our plants, inside our distribution center, has, kind of getting them using the same tools than the ones that they're using in their daily life. So you will see that operators are digital, the operators are using those tools, they are using them with the right engagement. We have been doing a lot of training, we have absolutely embarked them in the journey, making sure that they were part of that transformation, upscaling the roles, also somehow looking at the fact that digital enables you to have, expertise at a lower level, if I can say it like that. Meaning that you are able to maintain a machine assisted. You are able to give to an operator the information to be able to understand what are the issues on the equipment, where to do the first step, and guiding the person on the job, which was not possible before.
I really have to thank our panelists for adding such depth and breadth to this conversation. I believe a huge round of applause is deeply deserved.